that point of time we felt just completely out of control with everything. Although Freddie had been ill for some time and our other child had been ill, and we felt like, not confident, but we knew what we were doing with that. When you know someone's going to die, it's completely different. It's completely out of anyone's comfort zone. And at that point, I don't think we just wanted to feel like, yes, we wanted to feel like we were listened to, but I think also we just felt completely out of control at the beginning. You don't know what's going to happen, you don't know how it's going to happen, and no one can really tell you those answers, but knowing that there are people listening to you and you as your child's voice, I think that's the most important thing. You know, you want to do right by someone else, you want to do right by the person you love, and knowing that there's people listening took the edge off that extreme kind of worry and panic and just feeling of helplessness.
I think it's a bit like childbirth, where you sort of have a plan and you know what you want to happen, then invariably something will go wrong or change, and then you have to just go with whatever's happening. And towards the end with Freddie, because his tumour was pushing on his brain, it wasn't just the fact that he was getting more ill that was difficult, it was the fact that his behaviour was changing and he was becoming less predictable and harder for us to not quite manage, but just be with and enjoy the time that we had together. So we ended up at Great Ormond Street, and Freddie had been sedated for about 48 hours, I think.
Yeah.
Just while we were trying to understand what was actually going on with the tumour and where it was, and at that point we knew what we wanted to happen with Freddie's last days and weeks, but this turn was a bit unexpected, and we weren't expecting his behaviour to change quite as much as it had done. So whereas previously we felt very safe in our house, we weren't quite so confident, and that was when we sort of all got together, had a meeting, had a discussion, and sort of went, well, we still want to try being at home and see how it goes, and should we need to do something different, can we have a plan B, which we did have.
Yeah, I think that was the nice thing, knowing that there were options at every juncture and you were listened to. And I mean, although home had been a really safe place, like you said, it didn't feel that safe because we just didn't know our son, he was changing, and but then once we had a plan, we could start tuning in with him again and listening to what he wanted, and he wanted to be at home, and that was the most important thing, and making that happen. And if we're looked after, then we can look after Freddie, you know, we can look after our son, and I think that was really evident that worked. And going back to what you said about it's like childbirth, in fact it's exactly like childbirth in reverse, because babies decide when they're going to come and when they want to be born, and it's the same when you're leaving this world. I think, you know, that person's still in charge, they're still got that agency, and it's letting them have that agency and trusting them and trusting yourself to trust them, which is incredibly hard to let go. Yeah,
I think we had the added complexity of Freddie's brother. So he was 2 at the time, just very, very close to his 3rd birthday. So we were mindful that we wanted to explain sort of what was happening to him in a sensitive way. But that was made more complicated because obviously he himself was also ill. So they were both diagnosed with cancer. He's now in remission. But we were conscious that he might liken what was happening with Freddie to things that were happening with him. So we also had to deal with the grief that he was going to have, but also the fear that it's difficult to explain things like that to someone who's 3, and it's difficult to explain why certain cancers are different, and it's difficult to explain death. So we felt we were more comfortable and more capable of doing that at home, rather than suddenly changing a lot of things and being in a different environment, which might be perfect for some people, but for our particular situation, we felt we wanted to be at home. We'd kind of done lots of stuff at home with the boys. I mean, they were both born at home. They'd both been here, you know, throughout most of their illness, so it sort of didn't feel right, sort of upsticking, going somewhere else, and then explaining like this is the place you go where you get really poorly. That just didn't feel like the sort of message we wanted to be giving out to either child. And
Yeah.
also all of Freddie's friends are around here, and whilst certainly towards the end it was difficult for them to visit, there were a few occasions where people came round and he had a really nice time with them, and that would have been harder had we been somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, he did have the opportunity when he felt well to go in a garden or come in the kitchen and make a smoothie, and he surprised us with how late he did that. Like we thought he wasn't getting up again, and all of a sudden one morning I remember being in our kitchen and the community nurses came and they're like, oh, Freddie's sitting on the side making a smoothie today, and it was a complete shock. But he had, had we been somewhere else, he would not have had that opportunity just to do that one last time.
Yeah.
And just things like being in your own toilet, and it's just so much nicer for everyone, especially the patient.
So from a kind of timeline perspective, I mean, everything happened quite quickly. So if we went right back to the beginning, Arthur, Freddie's brother, was diagnosed with cancer in the March of 2017. Freddie was then diagnosed with a different cancer it was the end of July, 1st of August I think was actually the date. So they both had treatment for kind of 7 or 8 months. Arthur a bit longer because he was diagnosed first. And they both actually finished treatment on the same day. And we were very positive and everything had gone very well as it could have done. And then Freddie relapsed. I mean, it was within a very short space of time.
Yeah, about 2 months after he finished treatment.
And we knew from his relapse, we knew straight away that what it was likely to mean for Freddie and for all of us. So the position of the tumour meant surgery was difficult and further treatment was very difficult. So we knew in a relatively short space of time that almost certainly we were having care to kind of preserve life for as long as possible rather than to cure. So we had to get our mindsets into that place of...
We sort of had a bit of time where we knew he would be well enough to do things, but we didn't know how long that would last. And I think it was about a month we got over summer where we went away and we did things, and it started, his condition just started to creep in like slowly, didn't it, really? Like, the first couple of weeks of that summer he was having some different medicines and he wasn't feeling so well, and then towards the end of that month he was, waking up later, waking up with headaches, seizures, so it sort of crept in, and it came to a head when he went back to school, and he did amazingly manage 2 mornings of school, but this, I think, for us, we've always said that was the turning point, that suddenly he just couldn't manage, he wasn't enjoying life, and that was the moment we ended up being admitted to hospital. And I think for me that was almost like where the curtain was drawn in. That was your cancer life, and this is your palliative care life, and that was a scary turning point. And I suppose at that point things changed. We'd already had a lot of input from Great Ormond Street, from their team about our medicine cabinet. Was already full, but we made another one. So just the volume of medicines that came in suddenly went whoosh. Our number of, we'd always had lots of community nurses at our house, maybe once a day sometimes, but not always. This was always once a day from this point onwards. And we got a new normal, really, didn't we? We got a new routine, and this also involved the hospice coming and supporting, visits from Great Ormond Street, visits from the GP, and we got a new strange rhythm to life, but we also knew that it wasn't going to last, and we didn't know whether it was going to be a week or 2 weeks or a month. In the end it ended up being 6 weeks, but yeah, that was our new normal, and in the same way, friends and family fitted into that rhythm as well. Certain people would come in the morning, certain people would come in the evening, and support us and perform different functions like that.
But we've had to talk about it quite a lot over the last year, so we probably talk about it in, I wouldn't say an unemotional way, but quite matter of fact. And
Yeah.
I suspect if we'd have heard people talking about that talking that way 12 months ago, we'd have just been thinking, how does anyone manage that? How does anyone cope?
Yeah.
And we now unfortunately do know quite a lot of people who've had to go through similar experiences, and everyone manages. Some people probably manage a bit better than others, but everyone does manage, and everyone who has to go through something like this, they find a way of doing it. And I think what was quite nice for us was we never felt pressured to go down any particular route. We didn't feel like anyone was pushing the option of a hospice on us, or saying you should really be in hospital for this. It was very much, what do you want to do? And to be honest, we didn't know. This was something we knew absolutely nothing about. We were 18 months into it, but we didn't know anything about childhood cancer before. We didn't know anything about palliative care, community nurses, nothing. So we'd been on a relatively steep learning curve with all of that. And we just felt like it was down to us and down to Freddie on where we wanted to be and how we wanted to manage it. And we felt pretty confident that should we want to change or be somewhere else or do things differently, we'd be very well supported in that. And the thing I was pleasantly surprised about, I guess, was you would think that by being in your own home, you're sort of away from the medical world a bit and a bit less supported. And actually, in some ways, I almost felt more supported because we'd have a dedicated team of people who'd come around every day, and we'd get to know them quite well. We get to know some of them very well. And they'd be in our house for quite a long time every day, and they just almost felt like part of the family for that period of time. And having that dedicated care and people that were coming in and they were asking about us and how we were feeling and how Arthur was feeling, as well as how Freddie was, we felt really, really looked after. We certainly felt like the care that we received at home was in every way as good as it was in any medical institute we've been.
More bespoke, really.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. And everyone was, it goes without saying, everyone was very respectful of the house. But it was always quite an informal environment. People would come and go, and we did our best to make people feel welcome and that it wasn't an awful house to be in, that it was a happy place, even though, what was happening wasn't happy. So, I think it worked well for us.